I think that's it.
That's it.
That looks like security right there.
Without further ado, Joe Kent.
You guys got to sit down. Thank you very much. Thank you guys so much for being here. It's like coming home again. I mean, we were just here on Sunday, but we've had so many different forums and great patriotic events here in the RV Center. So every time I come back here, it feels like we're playing on our home field. So thank you guys for being here. Before I get rolling, I got to say a very special thank you to two very important guests to me. My mom and dad are actually back here. It's the first time. My mom and dad are usually helping me out with my two sons, 5 and 7. So they've been there with me, you know, pretty much the entire time. So we're all a product of where we came from, and I got a really advanced start in life having my parents as parents. They supported me even when I said, hey, I want to join the Army when I'm 18 years old. And I said that growing up in Portland, Oregon. So there's about like nothing more rebellious you can do than say you want to enlist in the Army and go to Ranger Regiment at age 18. So they've been with me from the very beginning. I'm honored that they're here tonight. I'm honored that all of you are here tonight. Just like I'm honored that Tulsi's here tonight, because what we have at stake right now is the future of our very republic. This isn't about Republicans, this isn't about Democrats. Yeah, we had a hard-fought primary, we took out a 12-year incumbent, we got past that, but the real reason why this is happening right now in this country, these political changes, is because we're in crisis. And we're in crisis for one really simple reason. Our elites, our ruling class, have absolutely failed us. The good faith that we, the people, gave them to run things, they absolutely squandered that, whether it was shipping jobs overseas, keeping our border open, a total lack of law and order, or putting us into a cycle of perpetual endless wars, to include the one that we're pushing towards right now in Ukraine, which is a potential nuclear war. And so these people cannot be trusted anymore, so it's on every single one of us to start to take our republic back. And that's exactly what we're doing right now at every single level. All that stands in the way of us being able to take back Washington, D.C. and end one-party rule is this election here in November. And I know with all of your support, I'm going to be successful. The Democrats right now, Marie Perez, she's doing the exact same things that Joe Biden and the Democrats throughout the country are doing. They're trying to say that they are different, that they're not the ones that are responsible for all the carnage, but we know who's responsible for the carnage. What is driving this cycle of inflation? I mean, right now, working class families at every level, you're gonna have 1 month of wages stolen from you, somewhere between $6,000 to $7,000 will be taken from you thanks to Biden's inflation. And that's because he killed off American energy on day one of his administration. And then from there, the Congress continued to spend trillions and trillions of dollars. This last Congress, we ran up the national debt another about $7 trillion thanks to their bills. And those bills did nothing to alleviate any kind of inflation. As a matter of fact, they added new taxes on the domestic energy production. They sent 87,000 more IRS agents after people making less than $100,000 to come take whatever you have left. At the same time, we are being absolutely plagued by crime at every single level. And that's thanks to, on day one, what Joe Biden do. After he killed off U.S. energy, he opened up our border to an invasion. We've had probably somewhere between 4 and 5 million illegal immigrants come into our country. The number, it varies wherever you read it, but what we do know is there's been enough fentanyl pumped into the country to kill every American multiple times over. The number one killer of our people right now, of American citizens, of every single race, creed, ethnic group, every single socioeconomic level, the number one killer, it's fentanyl getting pumped across our southern border into our district. And right now, we're falling victim to that too. We're right between two failed sanctuary cities, Portland, Seattle, I-5 running right through us. Here in the district, what have the Democrats done? Everybody remembers last October, they passed that series of bills that basically took away our police officers' ability to go out and proactively police. They're also getting rid of 3 strikes and you're out. And now very soon, there is going to be child killers who are going to be set free to walk amongst us. And this is the Democrat policy when it comes to law and order. Open borders, open prisons. And also with our children in the schools. With COVID, we all got to see what was happening in the schools when we started doing this Zoom learning. We saw what our kids were being taught, and most of us are absolutely appalled. We have comprehensive sex ed here in Washington State being driven by Planned Parenthood. And the worst part, the most dangerous part of comprehensive sex ed is this gender-affirming care, this gender ideology. And that's basically where they tell our kids there's multiple different genders. You might be confused, and if you do, we can offer you, some form of a pharmaceutical, which is chemical castration, or potentially even a life-altering surgery, which is the mutilation of minors. And this is exactly what this curriculum teaches, and this is exactly what Marie Perez on several occasions has said that she not only endorses chemical castration, mutilation of minors, she endorses it, and she wants the taxpayers to continue to pay for it. And this is the policy of the Democrat Party. Of all the crises that we're facing right now, what did Joe Biden do this last week? He sat down with a trans activist and he said that he supports gender-affirming surgeries for minors. That's coming from the top down. And so the challenge I give people is to show me the Democrat politician that stands against these policies, that stands against the sexualization of our children, that stands for law and order, that stands for relieving the financial burden being strapped on the backs of every single American. They can't do it. There's not one Democrat that's doing that. And as a matter of fact, it gets even worse. Everybody remembers what happened over the last couple of years of COVID, with the lockdowns, with the vaccine mandates, people losing their jobs. Well, what else happened last week? Biden's CDC, unelected bureaucrats, 15 faceless people decided that they were going to start recommending that our children between ages 1 and 5 be required to take the COVID vaccine to go to school. Now, it's not officially the law yet here in Washington State, but how many of you trust the Washington State Board of Health to say that they're not going to follow the CDC guidance? This is the same Board of Health that we caught red-handed not but a year ago, trying to do forced quarantine and trying to do this exact same thing, trying to recommend the COVID vaccine for our children. So it is time to bring about a resounding change throughout the entire district, not just my election, but the elections up and down the ticket, because we need a political realignment in this country. We need it in this district. It's time to start putting Americans first. It's time to start taking care of our people. And these aren't Republican or Democrat issues. Everything I just mentioned, fiscal responsibility, law and order, not trying to get us into continuous, endless wars, taking care of our children in the classrooms, making sure they're not forced to take vaccines. This is not partisan stuff here. This is common sense American issues that we can all stand for and we can all get behind. And this is why I'm just so honored that we have Tulsi Gabbard out here campaigning with me, why she had the courage to start speaking this truth to power. I mean, she's been doing it now for over a decade from inside her party, speaking out on very hard issues, and one that's really near and dear to me, and that is preventing us from getting in more of these endless wars, from stopping us from escalating towards a nuclear conflict right now with Russia. She's been talking about these issues for a very long time. She just did a very courageous thing and said that she's formally leaving the Democrat Party, not to necessarily... leaving the Democrat Party and then to come stand with common sense Americans who love our country. So, right. Tulsi, I couldn't be more honored to have you here standing with me. Let's give Tulsi a great hand to Washington. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Aloha. Love it. Thank you for making me feel right at home here with all of you. Thank you very much to Joe Kent. Well, first to Joe Kent's parents. You raised a wonderful young man. I've really enjoyed getting to know Joe and his family over the last couple of days, because everything that I thought about him to be true is actually true. He's a great American who loves our country. He has dedicated his entire adult life to serving this country since he was 18 years old. And that could have been enough. Serving 20 years as a soldier, one might say, your country thanks you, take a break, right? But that wasn't enough for Joe Kent. The way he answered that call to serve when he was 18 years old, he is continuing to answer that call to serve, to place the mission first. And the reason why Joe Kent is here, and the reason why we are gathered, all of us, to support him and sending him to Washington, is because he has lived what it means to put country first. The chaos, the confusion, the darkness, and the divisiveness that we are facing in this country calls for such a leader at a time like this. We need leaders in Washington, not cowards. We need those with courage to speak the truth, no matter whose feathers might be ruffled along the way, because the truth is what matters. We can't deal with the problems and challenges that we face when we have people in positions of power who are blatantly lying to us, painting these rosy pictures of some fantasy world that none of us live in, maybe they do, where you have the Vice President of the United States saying on national television, yeah, our borders are secure. Having the audacity to say that, and the guy who was interviewing her, even he, I think it was Chuck Todd from MSNBC, even he couldn't let that slide and said, well, hold on, we have unprecedented numbers of people illegally crossing our border. You're saying it's secure? She says, yeah. There are so many different examples we can cite. But what Joe talked about is absolutely true. There are all of these different issues that are symptoms of this underlying problem and corruption and rot within our leaders in Washington. And that rot comes from the fact that they are doing everything they can to undermine our fundamental freedoms. They have thrown our Constitution in the trash. And the only thing they care about is keeping their power and getting more. They don't care about us. They don't care about who is paying the price for the decisions that they are making. They don't believe in freedom. They don't believe in truth. So when we understand these facts that are born through their policies, then we can understand how they live in this fantasy world, because they don't believe in truth. They don't believe in facts. They don't believe in the vision and the principles that our founders had for our country.
Joe does.
Joe does, absolutely. He's lived it. Joe talked in great detail and very clearly about the perils that we're facing, that are affecting us and our families and our kids. The dangerous thing that I see when you see the insanity of things like there is no such thing as women anymore, they're completely erasing us as an entire category of people by saying, well, hey, anybody who wants to be a woman can be a woman. Not everybody can have kids. There are certain things biologically true about us as women. But for them, anybody can be a woman, except when it comes to the draft, except when it comes to war. Because then they say, according to the Selective Service, if you're born a man, no matter how you identify, you still got to sign up for the draft.
Well.
Sorry, you're out of luck. But if you're born a woman and you decide to identify as a man, you're off the hook. The danger when you have people in power who reject the fact that there is such a thing as objective truth is there are no boundaries. And so this is how they are coming into our schools, sexualizing our kids. I've seen some of these graphic novels that they have in our schools. I had heard about them. I knew that they were bad, but it made me sick when I held these books in my hand and actually looked at those pictures. It was the most obscene stuff I've ever seen in my entire life. And these are books that are written for 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, teaching them unspeakable things. It's no wonder these kids are so confused. It's no wonder kids like Chloe Cole at 11 years old was introduced to this and at 12 decided, I'm a boy. And at 13 years old was prescribed puberty blockers. At 15 years old had a double mastectomy. Doctors every step of the way lying to her and her parents about the devastating long-term negative consequences of what they were doing to her, which included sterilization, which included long-term negative health impacts, including increasing the likelihood of getting cancer. When Chloe was 16 years old, she realized that she would never be able to have a child, that she would never be able to breastfeed, and immediately regretted the decision that she had made and realized how harmful those lies were to her and her family. What her parents were told as they were walking her through this journey, they were told by doctors, look, you've got a choice, mom and dad. You can either have a dead daughter or a live son. I'm not a parent. I can only imagine what they must have felt like to have a doctor, a medical professional, tell them this is your only choice. How is that even a choice? It's not. At 16, Chloe regretted her decision and started to do her best to detransition, but the damage had already been done. She's 18 years old now and using her voice to speak out strongly to anyone and everyone who will listen about the real negative consequences of what this administration is pushing for. What Joe Kent just said, Biden said, yeah, sure, I support gender-affirming care. What happened to Chloe Cole is gender-affirming care. So no matter how pretty they package this, our kids are being abused at the direction of those in the federal government, those in this administration, abdicating the greatest responsibility that we all have as a society, which is to protect our most vulnerable, to protect our kids, to ensure that they can be kids and they can have a future where they can grow up and make decisions for themselves. When we have people in power who deny the reality of objective truth, we end up with normalizing pedophilia. How many of you have seen, is it minor attracted persons is now what they're calling pedophiles? And having school teachers who say, hey, it's okay, yeah, I'm a minor attracted person. This is someone that families and parents entrust their kids to all day, every day, saying, yeah, I'm a minor attracted person. It is child abuse, it is illegal, it's pedophilia. Let's call it out for what it is. This is what happens when people in power deny that there is such a thing as objective truth. There is no boundaries, none. You would think, well, of course, pedophilia, that would be off. No, not in their mind. So when we talk about this election, the reason why I'm here is because the stakes could not possibly be higher than the decision you make in this election, in this district, on November 8th. It is not an exaggeration to say that what is at stake is our freedom, our God-given rights and freedoms enshrined in the Constitution. It is not an exaggeration to say that what is at stake is the acknowledgement and the existence of truth, and having people working in Washington, walking these halls of power, who recognize these basic fundamentals in our society. And more importantly, have the courage to take a stand and speak that truth, to fight for our freedom, to fight for our kids, even in the face of all of the pressures of Washington. Joe Kent embodies that courage. He has shown it time and time again throughout his life. He has shown it for all of the times he gets up and speaks on television or in front of you. He says things a lot of politicians are afraid to say. Because why? They're worried that they might not get a political contribution from a special interest donor. Or they're worried that they won't get invited to somebody's fancy party if they piss off the wrong person. I get the feeling Joe Kent doesn't really care who he pisses off. I'm not wrong, am I? I get the feeling that he doesn't really care what people think of him. because he knows it's not about him. That's the thing. That's the difference between Joe Kent and most of the politicians in Washington who really believe that it is about them. The only identity they have is the one that is the title on the door, which makes me sad. I know a lot of people like this, and they're so afraid of losing that position and that title because they think they won't be worth anything. Joe Kent has lived a life of service, living his life for others. It's never been about him. This race is not about him. Him becoming a member of Congress is not about him. It is his mission and his effort and our collective mission to save this country.
Yeah.
That is what we're doing. And if we don't do it, who will? If we stay home and we talk to our family and our friends and express our concerns about how we are losing this country we love, that it's becoming one that is increasingly unrecognizable, about how our founding fathers would turn in their graves if they saw what was happening now. If we say these things within the comfort and safety and security of our own homes, but are unwilling to step out and speak these truths in public, where we can have influence and impact on others, if we do not do what is necessary to save our country, who will? No one. No one. Our founders had a great vision for us. They had a great vision for this country. And they very intentionally chose the first three words of the Declaration to be what? We the people. We the people. They were talking to us. They were talking to every generation of Americans who are privileged to be born in this great country, saying, it is you, it's me, it's every single one of us. It is our responsibility to ensure a government that is of the people, by the people, and for the people. That's us. That's Joe Kent. That's every single great American that we choose to represent us and be our voice in Washington, D.C. Who we choose to vote for on Election Day. You want change? Go vote. You want change? Support Joe Kent. You want change? Go and talk to your coworkers. Go and talk to your friends at church. Go and talk to your family members. Don't think within the context of, well, I went to school with somebody, I grew up with them, but they're a Democrat, so I can't talk to them because Joe Kent's a Republican. We gotta go back to the basics. Our founding fathers warned us about the dangers of political partisanship tearing our country apart. And that's exactly what's happening. Because when leaders of both parties see us being farther divided, always us versus them, one versus the other, we're angry at each other and not paying attention to what they're doing with our taxpayer dollars, what they're doing with the offices that they hold that actually belong to us. The more we're distracted by this darkness, this chaos, this hatred, this divisiveness, whether it's on party or race or religion or any of these other things, they can go about their business spending and wasting our taxpayer dollars while we struggle to survive. We got to get back to the basics of who we are as Americans. You got to get back to the basics of what is in the Constitution.
That's right.
And every one of us taking to heart our own individual responsibility to uphold that Constitution, to ensure our government is truly of, by, and for the people. We're gathered here today because Joe Kent is that leader that we've been looking for. Every time, and I know, because I've had these conversations, I'm sure you have too, every time I'm like, God, I wish we had better people in Congress. How many of you have said that before? God, I wish we had somebody who would fight for us. And Joey Trust. I wish we had somebody who knew what we're going through. Joe Kent has done over 270 town halls all across the district. I got a pretty good sense he's heard from a lot of you and will continue to listen, will continue to come home after you send him to Washington to let you know what he's doing and to hear from you, because he knows he works for you and only you, no matter what. So as you go forward today and think about, okay, what can I do over the next 2 weeks to help make sure we send Joe Kent to Congress to fight for us? Start thinking about people in your life. Who are your Facebook friends? Who are the people in your phone? Who are some family members who maybe you've had a difficult conversation with before about politics? Maybe it's time to reach out and say, hey, let's just talk. Because you may not realize how much power you have in your hands. You know, there's a lot of political TV ads on television right now, and those are important. They help get Joe's name and message out there, but there's often a lot of noise, and people are rightly skeptical of politicians. That's where we are. But people in your life, they trust you. They trust what's in your heart. Know how much power and influence you have in your hands, and know how together we can truly bring about a change in this country, with Joe Kent at the podium, on the floor of the State House, holding this administration accountable, holding any who dare to defy the Constitution of the United States accountable, and making sure that your voices are heard.
Give them hell, Joe!
I'm so proud to be here to support Joe Kent, because I know that he will go to Washington and fight for peace, prosperity, security, and freedom for every single one of us. He can and will be the difference, not only here in your district in Washington State, but for the country. Join me in standing with Joe Kent and for Joe Kent. Let's send him to Washington. Thank you so much. This is the A-team right here, guys. Making it happen.
So before we move on with the regular scheduled event, I just wanted to take a moment. We just got some really bad news. Representative Jim Walsh, his wife has passed away. Yeah, so if we could just take a moment to say a prayer for his wife and his family. You want to lead some prayer, Rick? Yeah, please, come on up. Yeah, that'd be great.
Father, we lift him up to you right now. We lift up Walsh to you right now, Father. He has to be really feeling down right now. His heart's broken, Lord. He doesn't understand. So, Lord, we just raise our hands to him right now and just ask that your Holy Spirit will bless him. Father, send your spirit of Shiloh to him right now. Peace. Peace beyond all understanding. My Lord, I pray blessings over his family, over his children, over his entire household. And we agree, Father, that you will send him peace. Dear Lord, so many things are happening to us now at the worst time. So, Father, we lift up our brother to you and his whole family. Thank you for accepting his wife into heaven. We thank you, Father, for that. And bless her, Father. Let her enjoy where she's at. And we ask, Father, that you will do great things through this man. And bless his whole family in Jesus' mighty name. Amen.
Thanks, Ray. That was excellent.
All right, so there's some of you have been in town hall before. I've seen a lot of familiar faces. There's one rule with the microphone. And that one rule is don't touch the microphone. That's the only rule. It's pretty simple. But in terms of asking a question, we have a lot of people here. So if you make a line in the center, do me a favor, just please get straight to it, ask your question, and let somebody else get a chance, please. So, anybody that's ready to go, I'm ready to go.
I'd like to ask you, when the GOP takes over the House and the Senate, what are you all going to do to make this administration enforce our border laws?
We're going to use the power of impeachment and oversight to hold them accountable. So Biden's getting impeached for opening up our border for an invasion. So is Mayorkas, DHS. And then we're going to go through DHS's budget, and we're going to say, hey, you guys will go down there. You will enforce our border. We have to be ready to use the appropriations process to have this hard fight and to show them that we mean business and to hold Biden accountable. This isn't just political retribution. This is a high crime and a misdemeanor. He is committed against the American people, opening up our border to invasion. Is that he will be impeached for this. And then also, I think we can reallocate federal funds to National Guard units along the border, Arizona and Texas. California probably won't play along, but Arizona and Texas, to get them the reinforcements that they need. But we have to take our border absolutely 100% seriously.
So I know that we got to keep this short. I'm a fire captain in the city of Vancouver here. Can that give me a little latitude? Okay, so here's what I've been doing. I'm an active member of our union, and through my efforts and a coalition of our union, which now represents 75% of our union, we want to only endorse Republicans.
Come on.
So this movement right now has led to the endorsement of a maximum donation for Paul Harris, and in your race, there's no donation going out, which is a huge deal in our particular union, which has never donated money to a Republican ever, and has always supported a Democrat every single time. So here's my ask, is we're working on something on the inside from the union side. Can we work together to try to build a coalition of people that represents a true union movement? When I'm talking about true union, I'm talking about secure borders, because we can't let people coming across the border impact who we are here. And I'm talking about, and I'm a little passionate right now because I just came off of a shift yesterday where I saw fentanyl overdose, I saw shootings, I saw transient problems, I saw things happening in our city that is just bizarre, and I don't know how we've allowed it to go on this long. And I responded with Ray Reynolds on calls, and I'll tell you what, but that's my ask right now, is can we work together to create this movement of building a true union that represents and stands with Republicans from now and in the future. And as this tide of radicalness flows out, we build a seawall and never let it come back in.
This question's for Tulsi. I'm wondering, have your views fundamentally changed since 2020, and do you have any political aspirations?
I think our views have definitely changed.
Two big, broad questions. A lot has happened since 2020, and in some ways, my views have changed given what I've been exposed to, what I've learned along the way. I think it's important for us as people and as humans to always continue to try to grow and learn, and I have. I don't have quote-unquote political aspirations. What I seek to do is find how and where I can best be of service. Exactly what and where and how that leads in the future, I don't know, but that's what I've always done, and that's what I'll continue to do.
Hi, my name is Marty Aguilar, 16-year Border Patrol agent, and just want to let I don't know if you've been to the border or if you have any plans to, but I can tell you right now, from a Border Patrol agent standpoint, the more congressmen that get down there and see the garbage that we're dealing with on a daily basis, I cannot stress that enough. It is a nightmare. It is going on every single day, and this catch and release bull crap that's going on, that's been going on for 3 years now, and it's just, we've got agents, we are at an all-time high of agents committing suicide, divorce rates are through the roof, and this it's unsustainable, completely unsustainable. They're sending our agents from the northern border for a month at a time to go down to the southern border, leaving their families and kids behind. I myself, in the last 18 months, have spent 6 of those 18 months on the southern border, and it's got to stop. So I'm asking you, when you get to be a freshman in Congress here, to really get in there and say this immigration stuff has got to stop, because it's not immigration, it's an invasion, and it's a violation of our fundamental freedoms in this country.
So I went down to the border with Representative Paul Gosar about a year ago, went down to the Yuma crossing, spent the night out on the border with the Arizona and the Texas National Guard who was deployed at the time. Unbelievable. I could go on for probably about an hour about what I witnessed then, and it's only gotten worse, and I will definitely be back down there as a freshman. And like I said, we are going after the Biden administration, and we will hold them accountable for opening up our border to an invasion. Unacceptable.
Hi, Joe. Jim Curry. And first of all, thank you for your service, Tulsi, and what an honor to have you here with us this evening. So we really appreciate it. This is more on a local thing, but it has to do with everybody, and that's our voting. And I know that Simpson is the man that we're going to be voting for as well. But also, is there something you can speak to about people about holding on until the last day with their ballots and not sending it in too early? I believe you could talk about that.
Yeah, sure. That's right. So bottom line is I need you to vote. If you don't want to vote on game day, just please vote. That's the bottom line. However, if you're like a lot of us, you have concerns about the way that we vote here in Washington State. Ballots got mailed out on Friday. We're going to vote now for like 3 weeks. It's going to take a while to count the ballots. You know, it's not a perfect system. Please get with Brett. He can explain to you exactly all the details as to why holding on to your ballot until the last day is one of the surest ways to ensure that if there were to be any funny business, they would have the least amount of time to do said funny business if you turn in your ballot on game day. Brett can give you a great rundown on the way the machines scan in the ballot and all the different ones and zeros there. But the bottom line is, if you're concerned about election integrity, like so many of us are, join me. If you live here in Clark County, join me on November 8th. I'll be hand delivering my ballot at the county auditor's office on November 8th. We'll put out the details about the rally we'll have.
Good evening, my name is Lisa. I'm a Marine Corps veteran and a mom. I want to say thank you, Tulsi, for coming out tonight. Joe, your energy has been amazing. I've seen you from the start of your campaign. Keep it up, keep it up. My question is on oversight. Tulsi, if you can address part of this, and then Joe, the rest of it. The first part would be, since when did oversight become political? What have you seen behind the scenes as far as the double standard, right? The standard that President Trump was held to is not the same standard that President Biden is being held to. And a lot of people are wondering why is this happening? And then for Joe Kent, when you're in, how do we make sure that right is right and wrong is wrong? Thank you.
Thanks for your service. Thanks for a great question. The Oversight Committee in the House of Representatives has been politicized for a very long time. It is maybe an unspoken reality that the party that's in control of the House obviously then gets to control the agenda for that committee. Unfortunately, and there are many different examples, frankly, on both sides of the aisle, how it has sometimes been used for purely political purposes, which is a problem. This is a bigger problem that we've had over time, how often the party that's in power, whether it's in the House or the Senate or in the White House, refuses to criticize leaders in their own party for doing the very same thing they would harshly criticize someone if they were in the other party. To me, that ruins any credibility of the integrity of those leaders. If, as you were saying, if something is wrong, it's wrong. And if it's right, it's right. This is a problem. Joe Kent is going to help solve it.
So really, I mean, Congress's duty is oversight. So all the different organizations right now that we know have run way off the rails, it's Congress's job to not use it as a political tool, but to show the American people what's going on behind closed doors. Like right now, how many people actually have any faith whatsoever in our federal government? Like the examples go on and on. Fauci, the COVID narrative, the FBI, the DOJ, people were just yelling out stuff. We've been lied to consistently for so long that if we are going to restore any faith in our government, we have to know that the the People's House, the House of Representatives, they open up the books and they hold people accountable. And for this next Congress, this is essentially what we're getting elected for. We're not getting elected just like to go cut people's taxes. We're not getting elected, to go raise funds for 2024. We are getting elected to conduct rigorous oversight and to kill off the Biden agenda in the crib.
That's right.
Good evening, Joe. My name is Rob. I'm a retired Army senior non-commissioned officer, 36 years. This is not going to be the question you expected. First off, for starters, I am a first-generation American by my father's side. I am the son of a Mexican immigrant myself. The difference is I don't wear my Hispanicness around on my sleeve like some kind of a badge of honor, like as though I somehow am more deserving or special than any white kid, black kid, Native American kid, Spanish kid, or any other kid. It's all the same. But what I'm here about, Joe, is they used to say it all starts in the home. I am today, since I retired, I am what's called an Army Junior ROTC instructor, not ROTC, Junior ROTC, which falls under Senior ROTC. Some of you guys might not know what that is because it's so rare in the state of Washington and Oregon. I teach in Oregon, but I live here in Washington. I'll put it to you this way. Washington has about 16 Junior ROTC programs. Oregon has 8. You want to know how underserved that is? The state of Florida has 335 programs. The state of Texas has 295 programs. We teach what the other teachers either can't teach, won't teach, are unwilling to teach, or are being prevented from teaching. Okay? Here's why I'm coming to you. You're the lady that you beat in there was, as you know, was Prairie High School, and where does have the only 2 junior ROTC programs in the entire southwest part of Washington, Prairie High School and Balagon High School. Good schools. I'm on a mission from God to open as many programs for junior ROTC as he can, because these kids need this training like Custer needed a freaking airstrike. Like Moses needed a GPS. Okay? That's how bad they need it. Okay? Last year, and I bet very few of you know this, last year, I went to the Evergreen School District. I'm going to make this public, I really don't care. Last year, I went to the Evergreen School District and I petitioned them to help open an Army Junior ROTC program. I actually got to present in front of them. Their principal, Danny Arancha, good guy, said, you know what, I'm going to give you all my support. And last year, I got Evergreen High School fully approved for an Army Junior ROTC program. And then they tried to tell me that they shot it down because the yearly schedule was set for the master schedule set too late. Now, just the other day, I got a message saying that, we don't think we're going to be able to do this, and they don't know half the program. They used to say it all starts in the home. It doesn't anymore now. You know why? Because the time-tested, time-honored values that you and I were raised in when we were kids is not being taught in the home anymore, and that's half the problem with the United States right now. So I want your help, Joe, to help me, because I tried to get to the Vancouver School District, they wouldn't even give me an audience. Camas and Washougal District, they're coming next. I'm coming for them. And I want these schools, I want you to help me get schools opened to open junior ROTC programs so we can teach these kids those time-tested, time-honored values that we were raised on that are not being taught in school and the home anymore. That's what I'm here for.
Hi, Tulsi. I just want to say I'm glad to see you here. I loved what you had to say when you were running for presidency, but I was voting for Trump. But, but I did like it. You validated again what I liked, and you said the truth. I'm here because 17 years ago, we got robbed as parents. I have children 40 and 30, and now I have a 13-year-old. And approximately 17 years ago, they took away our rights as parents to have their medical information and make decisions for them at the age of 13 or 14. I'm afraid to take my 13-year-old to the doctor. They want me out of the room. I can't have a say. And I've gone to the school boards, I fought for the sex education. You know what, it's on deaf ears because the money is mandated. If they don't do it, they won't get the money. It's all about the money. They don't care about our kids. So what I'm asking for, and it's been on my heart for 15 years, and I've been retired for 4, and it's such a time as this, and I will come alongside you. I'll get signatures. We need to overturn that law and give our parents rights for their medical decisions back to the 18 years old, as long as we're responsible for them.
Yeah, we definitely need a Parents' Bill of Rights, and we also, to make a lot of this happen in Washington State, we need to flip the legislature in Olympia. We got great Republicans, Jeremy Baker, Park. These guys are running against incumbent Democrats. That's the first step. From the federal perspective, we cut off the funding to Planned Parenthood, lock, stock, and barrel. They're the ones that are pushing this agenda. No more federal funding. Make things they pay for their own.
Hi, I'm 75, my wife is in her mid-60s. My question is about abortion, so obviously I really don't have a dog in the fight anymore. The Supreme Court just overturned Roe v. Wade, sent it back to the states. Why are the Republicans in Congress pushing to put through another abortion bill when it's going to be thrown out and said send it back to the states? They're wasting time instead of concentrating on things they can. And the other thing is your opponent has accused you and most other Republicans of supporting a bill that has abortion bill that has absolutely no exceptions, is what they say. And this is the thing that I think Mitch McConnell is pushing. Is that bill really have no exceptions, and do you personally support exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of the mother?
So I'm pro-life. I believe life begins at conception. The bill you're talking about, I think you're talking about the Lindsey Graham 15-week ban. That's a 15-week ban on abortion. That's basically where most European countries are at right now, is not killing the baby after the 15th month. So I think that's a good start. Right now it's been kicked back to the states. I think that's exactly where it belongs. The Supreme Court's already ruled on it. So I understand your point about like, hey, they're kind of wasting their time because the states are just gonna, claim dominion over that. Really what I think we need to concentrate on right now is that the Democrat Party has gone so far away from where they used to be with abortion. Now it's basically terminate the pregnancy up to the 9th month, up until the time the child is born. And I think that that's a position that's too extreme for most people that consider themselves to be pro-choice. To find something comparable, you have to go to China or to North Korea to find a program that's anything like that. So as far as exceptions go, look, I believe we need to have a pro-life culture where if a woman is in crisis, she knows that she'll be taken care of with the baby. Now, obviously, we prioritize the life of the mother. I don't want to stand between a woman and actual health care, like people talk about miscarriages, ectopic pregnancies. Those aren't abortions. That's not abortion. That's taking care of the mother, and everybody wants to do that. There's no Republican out there that wants to prevent a woman from getting miscarriage treatment or anything like that. And with a time where the woman's life is in danger, that's a triage situation that medical professionals deal with all the time. And so we would always go with, prioritizing the life of the mother or giving her at least the choice in that scenario.
What about rape and incest?
All right, folks. Now, I'm sorry, we got limited question time, but if you still have a question, man, we've got like 25 events. We have to cut it off. It's always one more. We have like 25 more town halls where you'll have the chance to ask Joe more questions. But what we're going to start right now is the photo line. So I'd like y'all to line up here, right up here. Get your camera ready to take the shot. Please try not to monopolize so much time. We want everybody in this room to get the photo they want. So if the camera ready to go, we'll get you up, we'll get you out. So I appreciate your patience with this. And again, if you want to give us the envelope when you get up here, someone will be available to take it. Ms. Erin, our deputy. Can we get a round of applause for Erin Bennett, our deputy campaign manager? Get up on the stage, Erin. She's got a tough job. So just give her your white envelope when you get up here, or give it to the person at the exit who will be collecting it. But we're ready to get some photos. Thank you all for coming out tonight. God bless, and don't forget to vote.
I got to get out of here. I got to go work. Good to see you. Awesome. I texted you the other day. You did? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much.
It's recording. Okay. Just pointed at me when I'm smiling, I guess.
A campaign photo with a GoPro.
Thank you for coming.
All right, you got it, my friend.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much. Thanks for your prayer.